Is it just me, or is there like a Full Metal Panic vibe going on here? I mean, let's just look at the plot for a second. There is a highly skilled soldier girl protecting a guy at school, and the guy isn't exactly happy that he's being protected by the girl because the girl is too soldier-like for his liking. She doesn't fit in, and the guy doesn't like that she doesn't fit in, but of course they end up developing feelings for each other, which was quite apparent in this episode. The guy just saw the girl Casino Royale torture his friend, so of course the guy is going to be a little bit miffed at the girl, yet they end up in a sex position. Romance cliche! But before all that, all these crazy villains enter into the picture who are just super overpowered, and for some unknown reason, the main guy, is part of the war that's being fought by B's superiors. How does that not shout Full Metal Panic? Now, I would say that this anime is actually slightly better than Full Metal Panic because FMP was really straightforward and repetitive to the point where it didn't really have a chance to be original, apart from maybe those slice of life episodes, which were quite funny from time to time, but apart from those episodes, Full Metal Panic was really a generic boy meets girl anime with some mecha action and mad villains. This anime, Chu Feng B, on the other hand, isn't afraid to be spicy. I mean, just look at the way this episode started. So in episode 4 of Chu Feng B, we get a more advanced introduction to the villains, and oh my goodness, there are some crazy villains here. We have Dr. Whitesnake, who is accompanied by 2 robots who can just destroy ass. They just tore apart all these soldiers and just created this bloody mess, and of course, it does beg the question as to how B is going to defeat them if they are that powerful. And in fact, are these villains going to tie in with the shopping mall villain? Because that guy's still alive. Half his face is missing, but he's still alive. We're probably going to see some kind of villain mashup, because if you look at the opening credit sequence, you'll notice that there are quite a lot of characters involved in this series, considering this anime is only like 1 episode every month. There's still a lot to get through, so Dr. Whitesnake and the robots get a hold of all these suitcases. I'm not too sure what's in those suitcases. We know that one is full of money, and apparently that money was Whitesnake's treasure, but what about the other suitcases involved in the exchange? It was precious enough to slaughter loads of guys. Those suitcases will most likely play into the whole war thing that everybody keeps talking about in this episode, and judging by the flashback that the shopping mall villain had, this whole war began when a cloning experiment killed off like 70% of the population, of the country's population or something along those lines, so it is no wonder that the shopping mall villain is pissed off. Perhaps Dr. Whitesnake is a major player in this war, or maybe he's just a lackey and there's actually a bigger villain behind the scenes. I would say that he could actually be the main villain, but I'm seeing something very similar to Full Metal Panic, the second raid, which I'm watching at the moment, where there's a bad guy, but he's actually a secondary bad guy and the real baddie is yet to be revealed. So after all that bloodshed, we return to where we left off in the last episode, where our main character finds B, Casino Royale, torturing his buddy, and then the whole cliche main guy falls onto the main girl and they're lying down in a sex position, and they're both looking deep into each other's eyes, and it's so romantic and all that cliche jazz. Oh my goodness, could it get any more cliche? Now the interesting thing about that is that B actually blushes. I mean, that just shows that she's not just some kind of soldier who is cold and emotionless and doesn't feel anything and doesn't really care about the main character. At the end of the day, she's a teenage girl, it seems, and I would say that she actually really cares about the main guy, because she did just point a gun at another guy's head, and that was the guy who was trying to spread rumors about the protagonist. So yeah, B is hopefully shaping up to be a 3-dimensional character. This was a violent and romantic episode in which we got developments of the main players and the overall plot of this anime so far. I was a little thrown off by how some of the framing of the shots were a little bit off, but not in like a stylish way off, which was strange. But apart from that, I'm still going to continue with this anime, even though it only appears like once a month, and it's basically a slightly spicier version of Full Metal Panic, and we'll see if B gets closer to an epic face-off with all the villains introduced in this episode.